I now would like to ask for a motion to move the entire agenda. Moved by Mr. Seeler, second by Mrs. Chu. Is there any discussion?
I just have one question.
Ask all the questions you want.
Under financial services, item number 4, the contract for statistical forecasting. My only, I guess, question or concern is, we have so much going on in the township with redevelopment right now. The birth rates are something easily obtained. The other part of it is talking about new developments and basing projections for the next couple of years on new developments. I'm not an expert in that area, but I don't see, with all the RFPs still out for the type of developments we're going to have potential in this township, a timely, putting this in now, to me, would seem too quick, maybe, premature. Thank you. You know, I don't know if we could wait a year or if that would hurt anything, because I see so much change coming in the township. I don't see how any company could try to figure out what's going to go on for the next 4 years, other than the birth rates, which is easily obtained.
Plus, we have this unexplained surge.
And
That's not going to be
the explanation in this
quantified by
paragraph
this.
didn't seem like that addition to the statistical forecasting
Interesting
would cover
point.
what's going on in neighborhoods with real estate turnover. So I just, if the scope of it is just birth rates and new development, I don't see, I guess I need a little more explanation how that would help in the next couple of years.
Mr. Sismar, if I could, and I'll ask Mr. Giuliano to weigh in as well. So the intent here was to try to keep up and update the district's current demographic report. And one of the things we wanted to continue to look at is the impacts we're having with the new population on each of the elementary schools in terms of class size and overall capacity of the building. Beyond just the birth rate, beyond just the housing development, I think there are other things that we would ask the demographer to look into and give us feedback on. I understand your concerns and I appreciate your input, but that was the reason we put it on the agenda to move it on, to provide that intermediate update for the board, because this information, I don't know what the timing would be, Mr. Giuliano. By the time they finished the report and delivered it to the board, we'd be talking about sometime maybe early summer.
Sooner than that.
Oh, sooner?
I would say probably within the next couple of months.
Okay.
So it's not just birth rates, it's looking at what's happening with housing, not just developments, and we've got a number that have already been approved, and we don't know what the impact of that is. Also looking at housing turnover and what's happening with that. Several years ago, and we haven't done an updates for a few years now to this extent, and it needs to be updated. You know, once we get 3 years into a demographic study and beyond, the data's stale. It becomes very loose. We don't know why we're encountering what we are, so there's benefit to it. For what we are looking at in terms of a cost at $14,000, it's going to give us a comprehensive review of data in a way that we can't look at it. I think it's well worth the expense. And it's going to give us information based on what's happening right now. Granted, we can't look at the developments that are in the workings right now that haven't really made it onto the books, but we can start getting some insight on what the impacts are.
So I guess, so we'll look at current real estate trends and the
Yes.
turnovers also? Okay, because I
Yes.
didn't see that.
Transactions.
That's why my
Absolutely.
question came out. I didn't see
Right.
that in the paragraph
Right.
here.
The scope is a little bit broader than what's described here,
Okay.
I believe, based on what we're seeing and the information we need to glean from that to figure out, you know, maybe there's a dynamic that's occurring here in East Brunswick that we just have to put our finger on right now.
Gotcha. That explains it, that the scope is more than this.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu?
Yes.
Mr. Sismar?
Yes.
Mr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mrs. Reese?
Yes.
Mr. Seeler?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Winston?
Yes.
President Becker?
Yes, except I abstain on financial services, item 2, purchase order number P1902752.
Noted.
Thank you. Motion carries. Okay. Our student rep is not here with us tonight. Are there any committee reports, information items from the board? Good of the cause for the board? Barbara?
Just a reminder that on March the 2nd, there'll be the Buddy Ball Big Game, which is the My Buddy, My Pal game where our volunteers from town put together a wonderful Fast Break Buddy Ball program. They have the whole season where students work together for community service with their pals, and the pals work together with their buddies, and they learn basketball skills. And then there's a big game at the end where there's a DJ, and there's each student is highlighted for the things they've learned for the season. So just a reminder, it's a great support for folks to come out and give their, applause and goodwill towards the kids who have worked so hard for this time period. So it's March the 2nd. It's at Churchill, usually about 1:45. It starts about 2 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Anyone else, Jeff?
Yeah, I just want to point out, I mean, I've spent the entire season now with girls JV basketball and had a chance to watch the varsity basketball girls and also the freshmen, because my daughter drags me to every game. Let me tell you, these kids are amazing, and there's actually a varsity player tonight, I haven't gotten the text yet, that should hit 1,000 points, and I'll wait for that to be advertised, 'cause I don't want to blow it for everybody. But it's, they're incredible to watch. So I don't know if anybody's had the opportunity, the GMCs are coming up, and make time. It's an hour and a half. Pick any division. It'll blow your mind. They're really that good and fun to watch, so props to them.
Anyone else? I just wanted to update the board that a couple of weeks ago, Liwu and I and Dr. Valesky and Trudy and Frank Chen, who is the president of which school, Liwu? The
WashU.
WashU?
Watching Chinese school.
We had a Skype call with some teachers in China. And these teachers had come to the United States last summer to do some professional development and to work with children. And they are interested in exploring a relationship perhaps with Hammersholt in some kind of a sister school relationship. There's some exciting possibilities for the kids to have very long-distance pen pals, to engage perhaps in some lessons together. We're not quite sure what this will look like, and we definitely want the full board input on this. So Trudy and Dr. Valesky are working on some kind of an action plan that they'll have for us the end of the month, beginning March, and they'll bring it to the board, and then we could see how they envision something like this working, and we'll see what the board thinks about it. So, but it's got some interesting possibilities. And I think that's about it. So we do have a need for a closed session. So can I have a motion, whereas the Board of Education must discuss matters which are not appropriate for discussion in a public meeting? The Board of Education intends to discuss matters as follows, those items listed in the agenda. The length of the closed session is estimated to be 120 minutes, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene and action may be taken. Therefore, be it resolved that the East Brunswick Board of Education will recess into closed session.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Chu,
Second.
second by Mr. Hahn. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Good night, and thank you so much for joining us.